Alright, and we're back. As I promised, I was going to now run this HTML through a validator. I've completed the HTML portion. 68 lines, I have a lot of white space. A lot of them are pretty short lines like this. But that's a lot of HTML, particularly when you're on the clock. So I'm going to Control A, Control C. I'm going to head over to a validator. No need to validate the CSS because it doesn't exist. I like just going direct input. I check it. And it's valid. Well, usually there's some valuable lessons to learn from validating your HTML, but I guess if you do things enough, you might get them right. So I guess my HTML is valid. So at this point, I'm going to save this document, which I haven't done yet, which is kind of strange. Save as. It's on my desktop. I don't remember where this folder is. It's called it practice final. I need to save it in the same folder as my images. That's all I'm really getting at here. Save it. Now I can run it in Firefox. And all I really want to see is that my images are showing up. It looks terrible, of course. But if my images are showing up and that select box, right, I think we're good. At this point I realize, oops, I forgot something on my select box. So I'm going to duplicate this. And so for the top one, we'll say like pick a movie. Pick a title. And for the value, let's do null. Right, that means that it's not going to be anything. We could use data validation to do something more with that if we wanted. Alright, if your images show up, it means everything's looking okay in terms of paths. Alright, moving on, let's start styling this guy. So now I'm going to kind of turn a page. I'm going to open up instructions. I would not suggest that you just eyeball this document and try and figure it out. That'd be a terrible idea. If you follow these instructions in the order I gave them to you, you're going to be okay. Step 1, use a reset rule. Alright, so I've got a style. So reset rule, that means the asterisk or the star. And so that means margin 0 and padding 0. Alright, that's a reset rule. It gets rid of all the margin and the padding. Step 1, done. That's a pretty easy one, so don't get your hopes up too much. Next, use the following meta tags: author, description, and care set. Alright, so this isn't CSS, this is really the last HTML. We already have a care set, so it's author and description. So I'll do those right here. Meta name equals author, content equals Ken Swartout. And that's kind of the recipe that we're going to follow. Duplicate that, so do description, and I don't know, some kind of a relevant description, like the best movie reviews. How about capital letters, right? Let's get serious here. Alright, so those are the meta tags. Done with step 2. At this point you should be feeling good, right? We're actually getting somewhere and it's going quick. Body has a repeating background image and uses the popcorn BG image that I gave you. That's not too bad. So that means our selector is going to be body. So background image is the attribute name. Kind of a funky one because you got to write URL, right? It's not like other things. And it's called popcorn.png, I think. I gotta look it up. Popcorn background, right? So way off. It's a JPEG as well. You're gonna have to be able to look these things up. It needs to repeat. I'm saying, hey, it repeats by default. So if you know that, then you know that you're already done with step 3. Oh, I guess at this point it's okay to start save it and look at it. You notice I didn't look at it one time when I was doing the HTML because it was gonna be a mess. It always was. It's worth looking at your links to make sure that your SRC attributes are fine. Alright, we're getting there, and I'm going too slow. Site uses a fixed width and height, so it's 800 by 600, and so that's the container tag. So the selector is going to be container. Width 800, and the height is 600 pixels. Okay. Save that. And so it's centered and it has 5 pixels of space at the top and the bottom. That means margins. 5 pixels and auto. Right? That's what that means. That means 5 on the top and the bottom and center it. And I also know that the background color is that. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to do Fs. Sorry. Long day. I mean, it looks terrible, but that's kind of what that told us to do. So the reason I don't validate my CSS until the very end. I just write one property at a time, and if I make a mistake, well, it'll just not show up. It's kind of how I do that. Set positioning to relative. That's one I could have forgot. This is going to help us later on when we use some absolute positioning. So position relative. This doesn't show up on the page. It just sets the stage for absolute positioning later. I'm saying everything that's positioned absolutely, I want to position it relative to the container. That was kind of a big one. Done with that. So now we're talking about the header section. I actually called it top. You can call it header if you want. It's 150 pixels tall and it has a 10 pixel dark blue border on top. So I think I called it top. So the height is 150 pixels. Has a border top of 10 pixels. It's solid, and it's 009, I believe, is the hex value on that. No, it's 990. No, 900. I'm going to control D. So the bottom is also 10 pixels. It's solid, and it's 006. I haven't got any of these right all day. Perfect. And so I got its height, I got its borders. Now I've got to set a stars BG as the background image. Also, I am aware that this completely trashes up the site, but I don't know. I was just trying to come up with things to do. Popcorn bg.jpg. I'm going to check on that. I like to put quotes around my things. Single quotes I like. Popcorn bg.jpg. I'm going to save this. I'm going to take a look at it. Oh, I didn't mean popcorn. What did I mean? I meant stars. That looks weird. Still looks weird, but whatever. Moving on. Through step 5. So step 6 is where we start floating things. So in the logo, we've got the logo within the header is resized, has margins, position to the left, C callouts. So what do I mean by C callouts? Oh gosh. Let me make this bigger. Alright, so it's got a height of 100 pixels and it has a margin of 25. So you've got to know the ID of that image. That image is right here. It's got an ID of logo. So I'm going to style it directly like that. It's not how you have to do it, but it's certainly the easiest way. There's more clever ways of doing it, absolutely. So I'll say height, 100 pixels. Margin, what did I say, 25 pixels? I have to look at it. Oh, and also it is clearly floated to the left. Sure, I could have done some absolute positioning if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. Right, what did that change? Not much. It got smaller, and now my search bar is up here. So we'll deal with that. Absolutely going to get that done in this video. That's probably about the last thing. So the search box itself, I'm describing it. I'm saying it has a text input and a button, both sized larger than normal and positioned to the right. So this margin of 50 applies to the form itself. So the form's ID is search. So I'm going to address it like that. And I'll say margin is 50 pixels. I'm going to float it to the right, just to show you what that looks like. You'll notice this is going to jump down there. Now I just need to make these things bigger, right? And so this is one of the messier parts of the assignment. I could do, there's all kinds of selectors I could use. I'm going to style them using their IDs. So I'm going to say search val. And so I believe I have some more instructions regarding this. There's some placeholder text. I'm saying look at the callouts. So this is 300 pixels wide. I believe it is 40 pixels high. You can see that in the callouts. Font size of 16 point. That's pretty much it. Then the other thing, I actually need to style the button too, which is kind of weird. Notice I didn't give it an ID. Fine, I'll do it the hard way, I guess. We'll call it that. So I'll use the search ID, and I'll say every input inside of there with a type of submit. So this means every submit button with inside of this search. I could have given it an ID. That certainly would have been easier, but fine, I'll do this. Same things. That essentially has a height of 40 and a font size of 16. So I save it, I refresh it. Now we're in business, right? That top part is now looking pretty solid. If that looked like some magic, that's okay. You certainly could have just given this input button a ID and styled it kind of like that, but instead I styled it like that. There's no wrong answers. I'm not really going to be on your back. I just want to see what you can do in 2 hours. I'll continue with the next div in the next video.